Hi, welcome to Evidence for Faith and welcome to another Artifact Fact. This one is so amazing. It's just absolutely bonkers that we have this piece of evidence that we're going to be talking about today that was discovered in 1964 by a famous Israeli archaeologist. And as you can tell by the title of this, it's called the Jezebel Seal. Now, nearly all children have heard of King Ahab, evil King Ahab, and his evil wife, Queen Jezebel. But a lot of people think that these are just myths, that they're not really real people who ruled in Israel, but they did. They really did, because the Bible's true and talks quite a bit about them. Now, King Ahab was king of the northern tribes north of Judah, of the kingdom of Judah. He was in the country that sometimes is in the Bible is called Israel, sometimes it's called Samaria, or even Ephraim. The northern 10 tribes, he was the king of those. The capital of that was Samaria, was the city in Samaria. Yes, the country was called Samaria at times, and the city, the capital city, was Samaria. And of course, that's where he ruled from. And he lived around 784 BC to around 853 BC. Those are the years right in there we think that he was reigning. No one had a good clock back then. But anyway, King Ahab's existence has been proven many times that the guy actually lived. There's no question about that. In the last 150 years of archaeology, they have discovered many artifacts dealing with him. There's the Kuruk monolith is one, the Moabite stele. We've talked about that in some of our other episodes. Matter of fact, even his signet ring, one of the rings that Ahab probably wore, which was discovered in 1964 in the remains as they were excavating the ancient city of Samaria. Naaman Avgad, who was the archaeologist, Israeli archaeologist, he found the signet ring. And that ring is now on display, I believe, at the University of Haifa in Israel. But there's no question about it. We have an image here showing this thing. It's an alloy of silver and bronze, but it has written on it that it says Ahab, King of Israel. I mean, what else do you need where we have a ring with the guy's actual name is on it? And these would be rings that they would press into clay and they would make impressions and stuff for sealed documents and things. Now, Ahab is not the main focus of this lesson. We're talking about his wife, his evil wife, Jezebel. And Jezebel, actually, because she was queen, her discoveries, artifacts and stuff have been much more elusive. Well, for one, she's a queen, not a king. So it's been a long time. People still doubted that she existed. And it wasn't until the same year that the signet ring was found, Avgad found also this seal. Now, this is not the size of it. This is about a third oversized so that I can use this in demonstrations. But it's a scarab, so it's like a beetle on one side. And this would have been something that she probably would have worn. Now, you can see the original one. I have photographs from that I've taken of the original. It's been on some displays and stuff around, and I photographed this. And this seal is actually not on clay. It's actually, as many royal seals and stuff, where they were put on like and carved into stone, or they were carved into gems. In Jezebel's case, the one that we're going to be finding here was found made out of an opal. And you can find a lot of information. Biblical Archaeology Review has an issue all about Jezebel's seal. It's also in the April 27th, 2020 version of the Stones Speak, which is from the Armstrong Institute. They have an article on that. Also, there's a lot of information that's been out on this because it's been a little controversial also. And as we look at this seal, the very top of the seal is broken. So if we take a look here at the top, let me explain to you what is on this, because this would have been much smaller. Just to give you an insight about how big some of these scarabs were, this is the Queen of Egypt, whose name was Hatshepsut. This was her scarab. And this is a copy, of course, but it was on a stone, and you can see how small these things were. And they would wear them like on necklaces and rings and things, and they would press it into clay to make an impression on documents and stuff. But this was Queen Hatshepsut's, and we'll show you this in a second. So let's take a look at some of these things, and let me explain what's going on. Because what they would do is, if they're going to send a letter, they tie it up with string. We've talked about this many times. They put clay on it, and then they would take their seal and press it in there to make the official document, like the notary public, if you will, on that. This, by the way, here is a Canaanite seal from the same time period as King Ahab and Queen Jezebel. There's no name on it. It just has some symbols on it of a sun and some rays and stuff, but it's a seal. You can tell that this is not a scarab because it's sort of cone shaped. But let's take a look at some of these in a little higher magnification to let you see what we're talking about. Okay, what we have here that I'm pointing to with my pencil is actually the replica of Jezebel's seal. Now, what's on here that we would say that this is Jezebel's? First of all, one of the first things you're going to notice is there is a winged sphinx that's on this. Now, this is like in a negative because it's going to be pressed into something, but this is a winged Sphinx, which normally would think is Egyptian, but actually this is a Phoenician style one, and that's going to be a clue a little bit later on. But when you see a winged sphinx like this, that means royalty. The next thing that we see is a winged beetle. Just below it there is a winged beetle, or a disc with wings on it on either side. This also is something that is very, very characteristic of royalty. This indicates royalty. Matter of fact, the kings of Judah often, even King Hezekiah had a winged bulla on his, a winged beetle, and many others. Also, what you're going to notice here is there's two cobras, one on either side here. There's a cobra over here and a cobra over here. The cobra is actually showing, again, royalty with an Egyptian flair to it. And that's what we see in that aspect. So cobras are royalty. If you've been to a museum where you've seen like a face mask of a pharaoh or his queen, often you will see a cobra attached to it. So being there's cobras here, that also indicates that we have a royal person. Then in the bottom down here, there is the beautiful image of a bird. Actually, that is an idol. That's the god Hathor. An idol bird that you see here. So what we have down at the bottom here is a lotus flower, and the lotus flower also indicates royalty. It actually shows that this person who owned this at one time was also a princess, is what we see here on that. Now we'll take a look at the letters here and we'll see what we have. At the very top where it's been damaged, there was probably the letters, there's some indication of a lamb, which is like an L and then an Alf, but it's been damaged. That would say belonging to. It'd be very common for that to be there, being that this is a seal. Remember, this is one third larger than it was in real life, that it is in real life, I should say. But then we see these letters on the side. Now, these letters are what is so interesting to tell us about this thing here. We have over here a yod. Now, the yod actually appears up here. There is a yod, and the yod gives us a letter like a sound like a Y, or in English it would be a J sound. Next to that, there is a zayin. A zayin is on the other side over here, and the zayin gives us the Z sound. And then going down, we go straight down then. From there, we get to a Beth. A Beth letter is over here, and with a B sound, and then there's the lamed sound, lamed letter, which is an L sound. So if you put the letters together, it's Jezebel. Now, in ancient inscriptions, in ancient languages like Hebrew, Phoenician, they didn't have vowels, but that is what it would spell out. Now, the way this would work is you would take clay, and then you would impress this down into the clay until it's totally, totally engulfed in that, as Jezebel would be making a seal, and then she would pick this up, and what's left over then is like the negative of this clay, and it's sticking really good now, But this would be like on a cord or on a letter or something, and it would have the seal, which you can see here. It's a little hard to make out because of the lighting, but the seal is here. So we get this impression from the seal on this. That's how they were done. Or to the way that, like the Canaanite one, you take the seal and you press into this, and then you pull it back out. You can see the image that is formed. And the one with Hatshepsut, the same way. You can press into this and then pull it back, and you can get the impression. That's how these worked, and that's how these things, why these are so important. But this one definitely belongs to, it appears to be, Jezebel. Now, with this information that we get from the seal itself, let's take a look at what we know about Jezebel from the Bible. Does any of this fit with who Jezebel is in the Bible? Well, let's take a look. First of all, what does the Bible say about Jezebel? In 1 Kings chapter 16, verses 30 through 31, out of the English Standard Version, we read, "And Ahab, the son of Omri, did evil in the sight of the Lord more than all the others who were before him. And as if it had been a light thing for him to walk in the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, he took for his wife Jezebel, the daughter of Ethbaal, king of the Sidonians, and went and served Baal and worshipped him." So we see that, okay, what do we read here? She is the daughter of a king, thus she's a princess. She's Sidonian, that's Phoenicia. She was an idol worshiper. We see the idols on here. She's the wife of King Ahab, so she is a royal queen, besides being a princess. Also, let's take another look at a verse. We look at 1 Kings chapter 21, verse 25, and we read, and this is out of the God's Word translation, "There was no one else like Ahab. At the urging of his wife, he sold himself to do what the Lord considered evil." Jezebel was an extremely evil person, very evil. She was a princess, the daughter of Sidonians, and everything that you see on this seal fits her description. Being that it's opal, it's a precious stone also, this all fits. Now, there are a few scholars that they even talk about in biblical archaeology that have debated that this is really an authentic, that it's not a forgery. Some say it was, some say it isn't. But the majority of what we have today, of scholars today, do agree that this is the authentic seal of Queen Jezebel. It's on display presently in the Israel Museum in Jerusalem. And it is noted as being the seal of Jezebel. My friends, Jezebel did exist, and the description that the Bible gives of her is exactly what we see on this seal. An idol worshiper, a princess, a queen, royalty, Phoenician, and her name actually is on it, Jezebel. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this little artifact fact that we have on the Jezebel seal. It's just so fascinating. I hope you'll join us as we produce more of these artifact facts. So until we see each other again, take care, and may God bless.